All right, let's talk about something that, honestly, most of us treat as an afterthought, but it's secretly one of the most powerful assets on your entire website. I'm talking about your images. In this explainer, we're going to completely change how you look at every single picture on your site.
This is where we have to start, because before we even get into strategy or SEO, we have to talk about people. When we don't make our websites accessible, the impact is so human. This isn't about ticking off boxes on a compliance checklist. It's about dignity, it's about inclusion.
And look, this is not some small, niche issue. That number on your screen, 30 million, that's how many people across Europe are blind or partially sighted. Think about that. That's about 1 in every 30 Europeans. And globally, we're talking hundreds of millions. This is a massive audience that we're all at risk of shutting out.
So here's the bottom line, the crucial point. Every single image you put on your website is a choice. It can either be an opportunity to connect, to inform, to make someone's experience better, or it can be a silent, invisible barrier that basically tells someone they don't belong here. Okay, first up, let's really establish why images are so much more than just pretty decorations. They are a fundamental part of your content, and they have a really important job to do.
The main tool we have for this job is called alt text. It's just a simple little piece of HTML that gives a text description of an image. Now, this is what a screen reader will announce to a user who's visually impaired. But, and this is key, it's also a powerful clue that helps search engines like Google understand what your content is really all about. Okay, if you remember only one single thing from this entire explainer, please make it this: the phone call test. Just imagine you're on the phone with someone, and you're reading a web page out loud to them. When you get to an image, what would you naturally say? That helpful, quick description? That's it. That's your perfect alt text. It's really that simple.
So, theory is great, but let's get practical. Let's really get into it. Here's a playbook for writing the perfect alt text every time. And, just as importantly, how to avoid the most common mistakes.
Yeah, finding that sweet spot is everything. So, for example, alt equals waffles. That's useless, right? It gives no real information. Then you have the super wordy version, which is just going to be annoying for a screen reader user to listen to. But alt equals a stack of waffles on a plate with strawberries. That's perfect. It paints a picture, it's short and sweet, and it's genuinely helpful.
So this all really breaks down into 3 simple steps. First, be descriptive and specific. You want to paint a mental picture. Second, be concise. A good rule of thumb is to aim for that 80 to 125 character range. And third, and this is so important, always provide context. The same stock photo of a laptop should have totally different alt text if the article is about remote work versus, say, data analysis.
All right, now for a quick fire round of what not to do. First up, never, ever start your alt text with image of or picture of. Why? Well, the screen reader already tells the user it's an image. It's totally redundant and just wastes their time and your valuable characters. Just jump right into the description.
Second big mistake, do not stuff your alt text with keywords. Google is crystal clear on this one. It creates a terrible user experience, and it can even make your site look like spam. It's awful for users, and it's a huge red flag for search engines. It's a complete lose-lose situation.
And finally, please never, ever use a generic camera file name as your alt text. Something like img_4081.jpg, that provides absolutely zero value to a person or to a search engine. It is a completely wasted opportunity to add meaningful context.
Okay, so now that we have the rules down, let's level up and talk strategy. Because when you do this right, your images don't just improve accessibility. They become an incredibly powerful SEO tool.
This shows you how to get way smarter than just using your main keyword over and over. If your whole page is about home workouts, you don't need to repeat that in every single image. No, you use them to target related ideas. So one image can describe a bodyweight exercise for chest strength, while another one focuses on no equipment home workouts. See? You're building a much richer, more detailed picture of your topic for the search engines.
And this is where it gets really powerful, especially for businesses. Images are perfect for targeting what we call long-tail keywords, those super specific searches that show someone is ready to act. Look at these examples. You're not just targeting running shoes. You're targeting a specific model for a specific person with a specific need. That is a customer who's ready to buy. So where do you put these keywords to get the most bang for your buck? Here's the order of importance. It actually starts before you even upload the image, with a descriptive file name using hyphens. That's your very first clue to Google. Then, of course, comes the alt text. That's the most important one. And finally, don't forget that Google also analyzes the text around the image to really understand what it's all about.
But look, great alt text isn't quite enough on its own.
we need to think beyond just the alt tag. Truly effective image optimization is a whole technical framework, especially now that website performance is a direct ranking factor.
This means you've got to be using modern file formats like WebP for faster load times. You need to use setstrep to serve different image sizes for mobile and desktop. And you have to make sure your images are in standard image tags so Google can actually find and index them. I mean, these aren't just suggestions anymore. They're basically foundational if you want to perform well in search. Now, this is a really crucial distinction to make. Not every image on a page actually adds information. If an image is purely decorative, like a swirly background pattern, you have to use what's called a null or empty alt attribute. It looks like alt equals. This tells screen readers to just skip it, which prevents a whole lot of auditory clutter. But for a functional image, like a search icon, the alt text has to describe the action. So it should be alt equals search, not alt equals magnifying glass. Big difference.
Okay, for our final section, we get to take a little peek behind the curtain. Thanks to some recently leaked internal documents from Google, we can actually move beyond theory and see how a search engine really, truly deconstructs and analyzes an image. This is the blueprint.
First thing, and this is wild, it's confirmed. Google algorithmically scores the quality of your photos. There's a signal called NIMA-AVA that predicts the aesthetic and technical quality. This is hard proof that using unique, high-resolution, well-composed images isn't just good advice, it's a measurable ranking signal.
And second, Google is literally watching how real people interact with your images. A signal called H2C, which stands for hovers to clicks, directly measures how attractive your image is for a specific search. If people see your image in the search results and they're compelled to click on it, well, that's one of the strongest signals of relevance you could possibly send.
Which, it brings us to this one simple principle that just ties everything we've talked about together. The single best SEO strategy has always been and will always be to just focus on the user. When you prioritize accessibility, when you prioritize a high-quality experience, when you prioritize giving people clear and useful information, you are naturally doing everything Google wants to reward.
So, I'll leave you with this question to take back to your own projects. Look at your website, look at your content, and ask yourself honestly, for those 30 million people in Europe and the hundreds of millions worldwide with sight loss, are your images an open door to your world, or are they just another wall?